Good evening, everybody. It's good to be back. Streaming twice in a row for once. How about that? Good evening, everybody. It's good to be back. So we already have John Digger and Matthew Martin in chat. How about that? Okay. Yeah, Matthew, if you gotta go take care of something, don't let us keep you. Gotta get your beauty sleep. But in the meantime, good evening, everybody. I'm here this time with a panel. So we already have John Digger and Matthew Martin in chat. How about that? Okay. Yeah, Matthew, if you gotta go. And take care of something, don't let us keep you. The doubling is now setting. But in the meantime, good evening, everybody. Well, we'll just let that work itself out. How are you doing, Martel?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. So I know you weren't here last night, but not too much has changed. We knocked a couple more points off the map last night, so there was only one more location between us and our objective at Zeltenia Castle, where we're hoping to rescue Reinhardt's sister Alma. Exciting stuff.
You got taken prisoner at some point, I assume?
Oh,
Probably
yeah,
missed that
Vormov.
one.
I thought you were there because that's when he's like, oh, the crystal's resonating. I didn't expect to meet you here, and then punch her in the stomach and throw over her shoulder and teleport it out.
All right. So it was.
Yes, last time we just did a couple of mandatory battles. Oh, including fighting Islud's sister Melialdul, who blamed us for killing him when it was really her and Islud's father Vormov, who went all Lukavi mode. Yes, last time we just did a... Oh, hey, Bradford Walker and Simon Hogwood in chat. Hey, guys. Gonna be getting back into some tactics here. Trying to advance the plot, because we're in Chapter 4, and in this chapter, some special opportunities come up. This is where they throw in the fan service characters, so we can acquire some special units, including one blonde, spiky-haired dude with a huge sword. Although he doesn't come with a huge sword, we have to find that later, which we will. You sound excited by the prospect, Martel.
Yeah, I never played Final Fantasy VII, so can't really say that the fan service means a lot to me, but
Oh, wow. You must be like the other guy who's never played it. I mean,
yeah,
I did.
apparently I'm one of like 3 people on the planet.
One of whom is dead. Yeah.
Pretty much.
No, sorry to cut you off. Go on.
No, just at the time, I was more of a Nintendo 64 guy, like Rogue Squadron and stuff.
Oh, hey, Escape Velocity. Good to see you. Okay. So that's interesting. In you, I see the road less traveled I could have taken, because I was a huge Nintendo fanboy since I'd been like 5 with the NES, and yeah, then when it came time to choose between the N64 and the PlayStation, I played both, and then I saw, okay, well, Squaresoft is going with the PlayStation, that's an easy choice, so I did not get the N64.
Yeah,
Other
I
than...
went with
Go
the 64, and then from there, Xbox. So,
Yeah,
Halo and the like.
yeah, I went PS1, the PS2, the same PS2 we are playing this game on right now, I might add, and then I went to the 360, and that was really my last system. My last new system, that is.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it ended. for me. I switched over to PC as soon as I figured out how to controller. Because there are some games that are just meant to be played with a controller. And I also really like strategy games like Rome Total War. I played so much of that back in the day.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Let me just look at the stream, see how it's going. Okay, sounds like the audio is okay. Looking at chat. Let's see. We have one, Matthew Martin says, picked up the N64, then the PlayStation later, back to the GameCube, and the PS2 at the very end of its lifespan. Only played one game on the PS2, but it was well worth it. Dragon Quest VIII.
Ooh.
Ring any bells?
I've yet to play that one, but I hear it's just exquisite. Perhaps he could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. If you want to tell us more, Matthew, go ahead. Let's see. Escape Velocity. Oh, a few people in the chat who have never played Final Fantasy VII, apparently. Escape Velocity saying that he never had a console, always played on a friend's, and... Alright. I guess I had the PS2 and Wii within their lifespan. Yes. Yeah. The Wii was kind of a family console. Like, you know, Wii Bowling and Wii Sports. Like, that Wii... I think it was Wii Sports. Fun game for the whole family to play. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I remember articles.
GameCube.
Just gonna say, I remember articles back in the day when the Wii was launching that predicted its failure because, well, like 70mm film, it's a novelty. It'll never catch on. It's too casual. Look at that turn out.
Well, they weren't wrong about the motion controls being a novelty. It's like VR. It has the potential to be something greater, but right now it's just an interesting little novelty. But no, I think that the Wii outperformed Xbox and PlayStation when it came out.
Yeah, pretty sure you're right. Also, a pig has come out to kill us. Good luck!
Ah, lovely.
And ready him for sausagification.
I'm watching Mario Galaxy. Ah, yes, that was actually quite fun. Had quite a bit of fun with that game. Yeah, like back in the late 90s, early aughts, it was pretty much either Rogue Squadron or, if I was on the GameCube or the Nintendo 64, or Rome Total War, Age of Empires 2, stuff like that. Good times. Playing those with friends, always fun. Let's see.
So I missed out on those games.
Okay, Matthew Martin says, Dragon Quest and Zelda are for me what Final Fantasy is for me. 8 is one of the absolute top tier Dragon Quests. Those are 3, 4, and 5, but it's just below. It is one of the only two with full 3D and voice acting, but it's done well enough and in keeping with the series that it still feels like a Dragon Quest game. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah, recently I played through all of the NES ones. And so 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Alright.
So I've heard that 5 for the Super Nintendo might be the best in the series. It's actually generational, so you control like first a father, and then later you come back as his son. It's pretty expansive. So yeah, I gotta get into 16-bit Dragon Quest.
Pretty cool. Actually, a game I played a fair bit, which unfortunately is unavailable these days. Although I could probably just fire up the 360 and play it. Did you know they made a video game adaptation of The Godfather?
Yes, I think 2 of them.
Yes, but I only played the first, so I can only talk to that. But, no, like, open world, play as a mobster in 1930s New York, and like, look for Don Corleone, set up rackets, do extortion stuff. Good times.
I should look into that one. I
probably got myself on a list somewhere, but...
Oh, we're already on all the lists.
You raise an excellent point.
Okay, it's not that it's okay, it just can't get any worse. Let's say that.
You say that, and yet... Have you ever watched The Lives of Others?
No, not yet.
Oh. Excellent German film, which means that they're allowed to be subtle.
It keeps getting recommended to me.
But... Oh, fantastic stuff. But what I really like about it is that they're able to show this brutal, dehumanizing, totalitarian society and just how utterly terrible it is without having to do what Hollywood would do, which is, break out the thumb screws and the torture and all that stuff. Like, the most stress we ever see someone getting put under is in the first defining few minutes of the film, where our protagonist Stasi agent is interrogating this guy, and he literally just has him sit in a chair, staying awake for 40 hours, asking him the same set of questions. Like, that's the worst that it ever gets. And yet it does such a good job of just showing a horrendous, evil society. So, yeah. Top-notch film.
See if I can hit anybody from here. I don't think so.
Yeah, Godfather games, or at least the Godfather game. Considering that it's a video game adaptation of a film, it's actually shockingly good. Actually, that and The Lord of the Rings stand up as an example of how to do video game film adaptations right.
Alright, which Lord of the...
The Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and Return of the King actually had quite good video game adaptations for the GameCube.
Did you ever play the Chronicles of Riddick tie-in game for, I think, original Xbox?
I did not.
That's apparently the best
Any good?
movie. Oh, it's apparently the best movie tie-in game ever made.
Huh.
It's really good.
All right. Okay then.
and I hate to say this because it's kind of hackneyed now, but it really does dig more into the lore of the movies that I appreciate the filmmakers only really hinted at. And like the game is canon, it's actually referenced, like events in the game are referenced in Chronicles of Riddick.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, and the whole thing is, it's a prison break game. So Riddick is like in this maximum security prison, and he's got to navigate the prisoners' internal society and like get in gladiatorial fights in the yard to earn money and yeah, try to forge alliances to get out.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Having never seen the films either.
Oh, really?
Guess that I kind of missed out on that. Yep.
They're the closest thing to a Soul Cycle movie series that currently exists.
Really?
Yeah.
Going to have to give those a look then.
Yeah, and by accident, because it's not like I saw Chronicles of Riddick and then like oh, I'm going to write an ethereal. No, I'd already written the first draft of the second Soul Cycle book before I even saw it. And like, I didn't even know that Pitch Black was part of like the franchise. So I see that. Huh.
And CL is here. Hello.
Howdy. We going live yet?
Yep.
Evening, everybody.
You there?
Yeah, I hear him.
Am I coming through?
You're coming through for me.
I can hear you.
Cool. How are you guys doing?
Really well. How are you?
Even better than last night.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the Lancer-in-law is in town, so I was able to take Mrs. Lancer on a date without Lancer Jr. for the first time in a while.
Nice.
So I'm now well fed on sushi.
You know, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I actually prefer American sushi.
Oh, I like the fancy overbuilt rolls style.
Just Japanese sushi has some ingredients a lot of the time that I'm not a huge fan of. Like, I don't know if I'm just eating it wrong, but I'm pretty sure there are supposed to be bones in sushi.
Where are you buying this stuff from?
It was at one of those sushi go-around places.
Huh. I've
Never
never seen bones in sushi before.
Yeah, or like sushi with the skin still on, that sort of thing. It's probably...
Oh, that depends on the cut of fish they use. I have seen that before, but that can be good, especially when they do the the little food flamethrower on it.
Yeah. I don't know, I kind of like the simple rice, seaweed, sliced cucumber, fish setup. Like, not a ton of ingredients, but when you do it right, it tastes really good. And then, I guess the regular old sashimi is pretty good, too.
Yeah, the sashimi platter was quite nice. I had white tuna, which I think is my favorite fish for that.
Ooh.
Melt in your mouth soft.
That sounds good. Real good.
I'm told that we have good sushi around here. I don't really have anything to compare it to offhand.
If it tastes good, it's good sushi.
See, I don't think any sushi tastes good, so I'm not the guy to ask. Like, I refuse to believe anyone actually thinks it's good.
Okay, I hate to be that guy, but have you tried it?
Yeah, many, many times. Dude, I grew up at the height of otaku culture in the 90s, okay? It's been foisted on me many, many times from, like, everything from grocery store platters to, like, high-end Chicago places, and it all tastes like tap water and lawn trimmings. Then again, I'm a super taster, so that might have something to do with it.
De gustibus non disputandum est.
Geek.
If you don't like sushi, you don't like sushi.
But if you do, you do. So I'm not gonna throw shade. But yeah, I have been told that our sushi around here is pretty good because we are a major river port on a Mississippi tributary, and there is one particular seafood kind of wholesalers that supplies like almost all the seafood around here, and they get it really fresh. Like, I will say, the one time I did really enjoy sushi, a buddy of mine went straight to this place and got the fish, like, fresh off the boat and made it himself at home. That was special.
That's the best way to do it. I had some of the best sashimi I ever had was when we went on a dive trip down in the Ryukyus, and we were diving, and the guy with the boat was fishing, and we came back, and he just brought the stuff he had just caught into the kitchen, chopped it up, and brought it out. It's fantastic. I think it was tuna.
Oh, and I shall have no besmirching of the name of Pokey in the chat, John Dacre. Let us hear no more of how Pokey's an overrated Japanese import. Keep that to yourself.
You mean Pocky?
I always thought it was actually pronounced like Pokey. Like, if you look at the spelling.
I've never actually heard a native say it.
Because I was always calling it Pocky and I kept getting corrected.
Huh.
So I don't know.
Okay. I mean,
either way. Oh yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So that's not a loophole. You can't make fun of Pogi or Pocky. There, loophole closed. And as escape velocity, I would go for the tempura shrimp as well, which I believe Martel informed us came from Portugal.
Wasn't me.
Oh. Either way.
But personally, my favorite Japanese food is tonkatsu curry. That stuff's good.
I can respect that. But yeah, glad Mr. and Mrs. Lancer had a lovely evening. Just heartwarming. That's wholesome. We're on a wholesome show here, chat. Speaking of which...
This is the Christian Minecraft server.
Figured we could use another cozy stream.
And just as you said that... oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Yeah, hold on. That was synchronicity right there. Check that out.
The old heretic.
Yeah. It'd be great if that guy over there shushed him. People are trying to pray! I can only assume they're whispering. Oh, he'd better be whispering.
This is just like the conversation in Highlander.
My duty is to assassinate so-and-so, he says, 6 feet from people in pews.
The whole building counts as a confessional, so no one's allowed to say what they ever hear in church.
Oh.
Isn't that only priests?
No.
Yeah, but this is a Crystal Dragon church.
Yeah, and no. The penitent and the confessor alike are bound by the seal of the confessional.
Right, but I mean, if someone by coincidence overheard it, are they bound as well?
I would say yes. Like, it would definitely... Well, first of all, if you repeat a sin, like someone else's sin that you heard, you are guilty of the same degree of sin because that is scandal and possibly detraction.
Huh?
So yeah, serious. Serious business. Also, the faithful can make confession to each other, and even though it's not sacramental like it is when you confess to a priest, like if you just want to get something off your chest and like tell your brother, hey, I did this, he is bound by the seal of the confessional.
Yeah, we do keep to that tradition.
Good. Matthew Martin, the penitent can speak of it if he wants. However, in prudence, he should not repeat what his confessor told him, like either the council or the penance, because people could kind of reverse engineer at least the gravity of what you did, and that could give scandal.
Speaking of...
The plot just keeps thickening, folks.
Are we going full Church of Terraism?
I think so. Someone. Cough, cough. So yeah, he's planning to kill both of the contenders for regent so that his main squeeze, Ovelia, will be made queen. Got Matthew Martin laying down canon law in chat. Made 1 new crowns in heaven.
Oh. Right back.
Okay. Wait, Mad Matt. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of smirt references to like the topography of the Holy Land and Christian concepts. Like CL said, this is full Crystal Dragon Church. Oh, and the issue of whether Delita is a simp, that... We'll have to wait till the end. We'll have to wait till the very end to make your judgment. Apparently Evil East never had a Leia investiture crisis. If the church wants to knock out the other pillars of power, like the other estates. Oh yeah, Xenogears. Xenogears, another game that turns out to have super smart lore. Yeah. Because I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but again, it's a 20-year-old series. Doesn't it turn out that like Cosmos is somehow Mary Magdalene or something? Which would just plain be blasphemy. So that's fun.
I believe it's a Nintendo to avoid the smirk lore for a while with Zelda making an actual Christian paladin.
Oh, specifically Catholic, sir. Hyrule is a Catholic nation.
Well, yes, the no Reformation occurred.
Although in the official promo art for A Link to the Past, you see Link praying before a crucifix with a corpus on the cross. That's as unambiguous as it gets.
Well, and your chief villain is a Saracen as well.
Ooh, good point.
That was why I bailed on the lore when they started going for this whole, like, reincarnating hero explanation.
Yep, same here. Yeah, another series that just really went down the tubes when they tried to transition to 3D. Although, I really pinpoint the point of no return as Wind Waker.
Not a fan of the 3D Zelda titles?
Nah. Like, I tried Ocarina of Time, but I'm like, oh, this is A Link to the Past, but slow. And then I just lost interest.
I find that funny, and this is Empire, that Metroid actually, I think, did better when it went to 3D with the Prime series. Like a lot of people, it almost broke out bigger than the recent two Dread games. The one before Dread, Samus Returns, the remake, and then the new Dread. But Prime pretty much put Metroid more on the map than even Super Metroid in a lot of people's minds. And it did 3D quite successfully.
So I missed those. I haven't played any Prime games. What about you, CL?
I've dabbled in them. My brother played through. He got the whole trilogy and played through it. I always enjoyed Prime 2 had a multiplayer like run and gun mode, which was pretty fun, where you could all just run around like Unreal Tournament blasting each other.
Uh-oh.
So that was a lot of fun.
Here's another data point in John Dacre's Delita is a simp theory. Not looking good for him.
But I've enjoyed some of the 3D Zelda games, but there is a lot. Crossing the overworld does take unforgivably long compared to the 2D titles.
Yeah, that actually is somewhat true to even the 2D Metroids. You get the speed boost system that was started in Super Metroid, like carried over to almost all the other 2Ds. That just makes you invincible and go really fast, and that's never been translated very well to 3D. I mean true 3D, not like 3D, but still in a 2D plane.
Like this?
I like 3D Zelda for the... I liked the aesthetic we got with Twilight Princess, which is my favorite 3D Zelda game. And
I like you
later on.
more.
Later on, they did some cool. Like in Twilight Princess, I thought they had some cool level design that worked because of the 3D. But when I think of like my favorite experiences playing Zelda, most of them are 2D games. The Game Boy Color game is surprisingly good.
Yeah. Oh, and it's.
I'm wondering then, like.
Go on.
Sorry.
Go on, Brad.
I'm wondering then about. Yeah, I can hear you. It's Metroid. Similar. I didn't quite have the split between 2D and 3D. People who like Metroid usually like both if they get into it, but Zelda, I almost swear most people who love Zelda actually never played the 2Ds, except maybe now and then a new one on a Switch or a 3DS.
If any of you are in the chat, you're missing out by not playing 2D Zelda.
Yeah, especially the one
A Link to the Past is a great starting point.
Go on, I think we're about to say the same thing. I'll co-sign that. What else?
So yeah, my recommendation, A Link to the Past is great. Like, it's amazing how big A Link to the Past feels, even though like the overall map is not that huge. Like, there's just so much packed into that game. It feels like a very large world. And then either one of the Oracle games that Capcom made for Game Boy Color are basically like Link's Awakening is fun, but Capcom improved on Link's Awakening with those games. So I think that's the best handheld Zelda experience. Unless you played A Link to the Past on GBA like I did.
Yeah, and recently, if you've been following my blog, you know that I played through. Well, I played through Link's Awakening. I can't quite decide if it or A Link to the Past are the best. I'm gonna say they're equal. Do not miss those two.
In the Game Boy game's favor, you have a jump button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was huge.
And it's a very satisfying little animation.
Yeah. Go on, Martel.
I started with Wind Waker, and then about the same time played Link to the Past. And then the only other Zelda game I played is Breath of the Wild. Which I greatly enjoyed, but I also don't know if I would call it like necessarily a Zelda game in with the other Zelda games.
I
Why is that?
agree with that. Breath of the Wild, I think. Oh, me agreeing with that?
No, I was asking Martel. Well, both of you, why would you say that about it? About Breath of the Wild? For our listeners' sake.
I would say that because it's very different from other Zelda games. Like, the core systems are still largely there, but it's also quite different. Especially the open world dimension. Like,
yeah, like
the other Zelda games are kind of like the I think Overworld called it linear open world style. Like, it's a series of corridors, but it's a very expansive series of corridors.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I played all the way through Twilight Princess and some of Ocarina of Time, and I know the difference you're talking about. Metroid Primes actually are a little more true open world, because you go back and forth through all the world through hub areas, somewhat like the old Zeldas, but Metroid's design was a little different.
I'm going to go ahead and make a recommendation that you may or may not see coming depending on your knowledge of my proclivities, but going to have to go for the black sheep of the franchise, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Speaking of Zeldas that are different than all the others, you have to keep in mind that back in the day, before Nintendo had really figured out the formula, as it were, the sequels to almost all of their in-house first-party games were totally different than the original. Like, look at Super Mario Brothers 3, which was actually a totally different game in Japan, right? Look at Castlevania 2 from Konami, which added RPG elements years before Symphony of the Night did. So I find that what Zelda 2 does for the original Zelda is really close to what Simon's Quest did for the original Castlevania.
Yeah. I guess the other reason why I would say I would call Breath of the Wild different from the other Zelda games is, like, even with, say, Wind Waker, which had quite an expansive open world map, there was still a very clear sequence to the game. Like, you don't go to certain places before you complete whatever. Whereas Breath of the Wild, you hypothetically can fight the endgame boss the second you get the glider. You're going to die in 3 seconds and you'll have no DPS, but it's hypothetically possible.
This sounds very similar to what happened with Elden Ring and the Dark Souls franchise. That you still
It's
have.
funny you should mention that.
Yeah, I have some personal experience with it. I've tried a few of the other Dark Souls games, but this one I like. I like because the open world aspect allows me to go, big scary boss. Test it once, get one shot. All right, we'll avoid that area and go farm minions around it.
Yep. It's kind of, comparisons to Dark Souls and Breath of the Wild are always overwrought, but it is kind of the Breath of the Wild of Dark Souls. In that it takes a previously linear open world game and just makes it open world.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, definitely. I think Breath of the Wild, though's advantage is it seems to have a lot of systems built in. Like Elden Ring has a lot of cool stuff and such, but I'd almost describe it's like a paper and pen RPG with very quirky combat mechanics you must get good at or you will get wrecked.
It's like dancing with swords.
Yes.
All about timing.
Yes. Sadly, a lot of people I've seen have issues with the game, and I understand it. A lot of games that borrowed action RPG or more of action game elements, and when I mean action game, I mean DMC, Bayonetta style, or even Ninja Gaiden, where you have instant ability to get out of shit if you know what you're doing. But Dark Souls literally is like, no, you are going to do your swing. You are committed to the thing you're doing. Remember that, or you get wrecked.
Right.
I should try playing with a metronome next time and see if I can figure out the timing. Because I know one guy who's played it, and he is like, the trick to Dark Souls is to realize it's a rhythm game disguised as an action RPG.
I have played with enough lag in my experience. I just prepare to act like I am on 100 millisecond to 300 millisecond lag, and then suddenly things make sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dark Souls PvP, well, it has potential, just in terms of mechanics. The point where I decided to immediately throw myself on the cliff the second I get invaded was when I was watching a YouTube video on Dark Souls PvP, and they said, take a knife and throw it at the nearest wall the second you get into combat. Count out the number of seconds it takes before you hear the ping, and that's the lag you're looking with.
Yep. Yeah, no, there are certain game design. I think the ones I want to see more Dark Souls of, and after I finish Elden Ring, I'm going to finally get my hands on, is the Team Ninja's Neo series, Neo 1 and Neo 2. From what I understand, it borrows a lot more from the Ninja Gaiden traditional action games, but but has some of that Dark Souls-y element that people like. But you get more of the classic, I can dodge or commit too fast things.
Yeah.
Game mechanics that we do
Actually,
enjoy.
Rather good game that combines. Yeah, game that combines rhythm and gameplay. Nier Automata.
See, I thought I was the only one who
Which
thought
the
that it felt...
story for that one is kind of. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought I was the only one who thought that that game's combat felt kind of like Batman Arkham Asylum, which did start as a rhythm game.
Yeah. Well, actually, the company's statement actually has a like a mission statement on how they want to combine melody, symphony, and rhythm to tell the story and expand the gameplay. And that game's soundtrack is just spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, unfortunately, the writer is like, if you only play Nier Automata, it's a good game. The second you realize that he's a very like, he's a writer with exactly one trick up his sleeve, so anything after that is just kind of hacky.
Well, I liked Drakengard.
Well,
Which is a pity, because
he took the thing literally, practiced one kick 1,000 times. He finally got a masterpiece with Nier Automata after all the shenanigans before that.
yeah, it's another one of those writers where everything sucks, everything is terrible. You liked this character, great, we're gonna kill him horribly.
True.
And, like,
Yep.
it's the difference between what I call grand tragedy and a petty tragedy. Like, grand tragedy is Coriolanus. Great success, great man, and it all falls apart at the very end. Petty tragedy is just nothing at all ever can or will go right. Like, your dog dies, and then you stub your toe, and then you get cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that if that's you're consuming all of his stuff, but I think Nier was partially, pushed because Platinum Games is a little more positive, upbeat studio. They injected a little more positivity through the game than his normal, let's just say, Drakengard games can give you an idea of what he would go if he was totally off the leash.
Yeah, well, at the point where I realized that he's kind of a hack was where he was talking about how he would handle the story for the new Monster Hunter game. And it was pretty much exactly what I said. Like, just awful, terrible, everything sucks.
Yeah, that's actually, speaking of Japanese authors, that do, and Japanese authors, unlike a lot of American authors, except for, may he rest in peace, Michael Crichton, don't really get access to bounce around as much as Crichton did. But a lot of Japanese authors, on the one I'm thinking, he's known as Yunro Butcher for his tendency to kill characters. But he actually went off and did something I think was really cool that was untypical of him was like his Godzilla Netflix series from Polygon Pictures was his typical I am killing everyone and it's not a happy ending. But the Thunderbolt Fantasy is not your typical anime, by the way, everyone. It is Taiwanese puppets with CGI from, I think, Ufotable, and then Japanese voice actors. Sounds nuts. It is crazy. It is cool. But
wait, did Butcher write Godzilla Singular Point?
No. It was the Netflix Polygon Pictures Godzilla Playing on Monsters was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, and it fits his typical shenanigans of doing stuff.
I passed on that one.
Yeah. His best stuff actually was the
I like
Psycho.
Fate Zero.
Yeah, Fate Zero was him going, I can take the plot that they gave me and just dial it up to 11. And a lot of Fate people hate that Fate Zero is kind of a better entry than all their Fate stuff. Well, that's what happens when you have a decent writer who says, how about, since I'm a prequel, I ignore all your traditions and just go ham.
That explains why Fate Zero got me into the series.
Yes.
Same.
So, but he did help do Psycho-Pass. The first season is still, I think, the best of all the Psycho-Pass stuff, and it shows like it's.
Wait. Psycho-Pass was Euro Butcher?
Yes, he was the story, script, concept, series composition, and script. And all but episode 12, he wrote the scripts.
Okay.
That explains a lot. I'm in the minority. I actually really liked Psycho-Pass 2 as well.
Oh,
I've never seen Psycho-Pass 2.
Psycho-Pass 2 is good, and actually I need to finally finish the third season. And
There's a third season?
Yes, and it's a little weirder, but it's still good. It still tries to keep the beats from the few episodes I saw. But I think if you really just wanted a good ending to it, it would be the movie of Psycho-Pass. And there's actually some people. Yes, it is been on your high seas cap, but just have a legitimate copy anyways. People have made the edit that combines American dubs with the Japanese subs because the movie literally is set in basically an English-speaking Asia. So you have Japanese characters who would be speaking Japanese in some instances and then speaking legitimately English in other instances. And it's called, I can't remember what it's called, the cut is, but it literally combines both of them to actually have what would be technically what would really happen in the dialogue of English in some scenarios from the dub and subs from the Japanese, that'd be in other scenarios.
Quick side note,
That they
here's
haven't
the first
exploited this and
reference
tried to
to...
make it top.
Here's the Sid reference we've been waiting for.
Oh,
That is all. As you were.
Checking chat. Matthew Martin is signing off. If you're still here, good night.
oh. Has anyone
Let's see.
seen Blade Runner Black Lotus by Escape Velo? Was in the chat. I have not.
Nor have I.
It is a CG anime with Netflix money.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's a hit or miss in my experience.
Actually, I kind of like Knights of Sidonia.
Knights of Sidonia was based off a real manga. That's why it was good.
Ah.
It wasn't a one-shot. Actually, there is one Netflix anime that it's stereotypical shonen, but I'm looking it up right now. But
Okay, question. Since, just looking at this, I have strong and then in quotes, brute. Is this one of those, like with heresy and all of that other stuff, is this one of those cases where they use single quotes in place of italics?
I'm not sure what they're
Is
doing.
that what they're doing here?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay. Okay.
But again, I find the translation delightfully ham-fisted.
Well, it's also like, I think we've had this conversation, but just if writers are going to work a Crystal Dragon's use as searching, or worse yet, start talking about heresy or whatever, they should at least research a little bit of what heresy actually means.
Wait, nobody got time for that.
Besides
Yes.
which, you'll get so much more interesting stories.
Yes, no one's got time for that.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a fantasy version of the Albigensian Crusade,
Ooh.
or the Hussite rebellions.
Oh.
That's actually, you could make a compelling story out of that.
Okay. Can anyone think
So to
of a
answer,
popular... Okay, sorry. Go ahead and... I'll I'll throw this question out there, and then you go and read that. But can anyone think of a popular property that at least tries or comes close to something like that? I will cede the floor.
Warhammer Fantasy has this guy working for the Empire called Luther Hus, and he's basically a rabble-rousing creature on an eternal crusade against chaos.
Base.
So, yeah.
I find it funny that there's a new Final Fantasy alternative from Square Enix, once again being done by another studio, just like Nier Automata was done by Platinum. Team Ninjas is doing it, and it's the main character, Jack, is going against chaos. It's become a meme. Some people have said it's the new Metal Gear Revengeance for all the shenanigans and memes that are going to come out of it.
Hey, Metal Gear Revengeance was awesome.
That's the vibe everyone's having on the parts of the internet I hang out in. That I peek in and going, this is Metal Gear Revengeance, the Final Fantasy edition, and shenanigans and memes. I'm here to stop chaos. Literally a quote from the dubs.
Oh, gee, speaking of dubs,
Yes.
so this new character is named Balmafula. Sounds like a vampire that feeds on vapor rub. Oh, man. Oh, you crazy guys, what are you doing? Oh,
boy.
love this translation.
But yeah. And to your question, Brian, I can't actually think of anybody that
I'm sad now.
seriously tries to actually apply historical stuff.
Oh, I'm going to have to be the one who's going to have to do it, aren't I? It's going to have to be me. I'll have to set up an elaborate parallel fantasy religion with its own cult code, creed, history, controversies. And then came the great controversy over whether substances could be distributed in a kind while avoiding confusion. And, have two characters on either side of that. And make it fun.
Yep.
I mean, once again, all you have to do is just take the Cathar, just everything about them, and you've got a perfect heresy, and no one will feel guilty at all about exterminating root and branch.
The fun part will be making readers care about either side. Actually get them going. Yeah, man. Yeah, this dude thinks that. This dude thinks that the Blessed Sacrament should be administered even to recusants. Screw that guy. Anyway.
Okay, if you're gonna do that, then just go with the Hussite Rebellion.
Yeah.
Or the 30 Years' War. If you want to make people just feel bad, go for the 30 Years' War.
I find it funny that happened after Luther, all these shenanigans with these wars. We got disagreements now that we're going to go literally to war over. Wait, this was after we supposedly made things better? Shit.
Yeah. Well, it also leads to some really dark humor. What did most Germans eat during the 30 Years' War? The diet of worms.
Oh, shit.
If your audience isn't going, the Elector of Xeon did nothing wrong, then you've messed up somewhere.
Here.
Yes,
Can we get that?
Yes.
Can we get a Holy Roman Empire with Gundams?
Yes.
It would even make perfect sense because, the princes are the ones riding the Gundams.
Yeah, it takes the Battletech logic of the houses and scales it down.
Ooh. I like it.
Yeah, the whole point of knights is that they were basically the Gundams of the medieval battlefield. get too pop culture about it, but effectively invincible, highly mobile.
Yeah,
and the reason for it was like they had estates that could support them, so they could put all of their time and effort into training for war and leadership.
Yeah, until technology and wealth reduced that and a Black Death, it was pretty much this bro's gonna wreck everyone out there.
Yep. Like, you pit 10 dudes with pitchforks against a guy on a horse with barding and plate armor and lance and a sword.
And
really got only one way it's going to end.
And he's probably at least got a few foot soldiers that have got some skill backing him up.
Oh, data point against Delita simping.
Levy.
Entered for the record. Go on.
No, he has attitude about her.
Oh, that one at least. Bradford Walker says, Holy Roman Empire with Gundam? You mean Space Germany? Guys, stop reading my notes. Well, while I will not admit to reading your notes, at least for your next book, check out Z-Strike Exceed. You may be pleasantly surprised.
Actually, now I think on it.
Yeah.
That's right. I do have Mr. Walker's book. I haven't read it. I need to.
I edited it, so I recommend it with the usual ethics disclaimers.
Nice.
Actually, no, I think I got about 4 pages in, and then I wound up doing something else for 4 months. But yeah, one of those things where I keep meaning to pick it back up again.
Need to get back to that.
I would apologize, but he already has my money, so...
There you go.
Yeah, that was the goal anyway. I just mentioned one of the Netflix animes that was decent, that was paid in original, was Hero Mask. It was a stereotypical and technically not realistic in that it was mostly Britain, London, with mostly Brits in London. But besides those two things, it was great.
All right, well... If you guys are interested in Cloud, if you want Cloud, here is the start to the path to Cloud. Here's the first thread we have to pull. This rumor in the bar. Here we go. Noveska Island, an island that lies 8,000 doma north of Zeltenia. In the center of the island are many temple graves. It was a critical area used by guerrillas resisting the enemy. Known as a paradise for its lush greenery, the fishermen called it a cursed island, and a fearsome iron sentinel will kill all those who approach. Note the double quotes used correctly. Punctuation inside, yes. We do enjoy it. So, okay. You sound relieved.
Yeah, just grammar. It's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah. So that opened up Noveska Temple.
Especially.
Yeah.
Especially since English is such a beautiful language. So people just messing it up irritates me.
Ironically, the native speakers are the worst.
Here... I co-sign all around.
That's always the case.
I'm not discounting this, as the more I write and learn some stuff, the more I'm like going. And then I also know that Americans, since we have the biggest landmass of English speaking in the world, we decided to also just make a bunch of different genres of it that literally you can understand, but if you're a foreigner and don't understand the local speak, let alone the online versions, you're lost.
Well, I mean, it's always the phenomenon where foreign speakers who really learn the language will speak it better than the native speakers, just because native speakers always have those tiny little omissions and mistakes that are technically wrong, but it's just how everyone does it.
Well, English has been fighting that it's always been basically whatever you can get away with long enough. becomes the language, and even though there's been a forced push of formality on it, the internet kind of just blew that out of the water.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So the next thing I have
I
to
just
do
like
is...
that it's reached the point where, like...
What point has it reached?
Like, you can hear the difference between the way people spell or shorten words online. Like, read an Owen Cyclops tweet, you can hear the difference in the way he writes in all lowercase and abbreviates certain words.
Huh. Yep. But, so anyway, this was the first thing we had to do to get Cloud. Next we have to go to a city which is over here but hasn't appeared on the map yet. So I think now we have to backtrack. And we have to go to Bethel Garrison before we can continue. No problem, it's just going to take a little bit longer. Anyway.
But yeah, like, when you have to read what other people write, you will quickly develop a loathing for every single English speaker on the planet. Including very basic things that they teach in 3rd grade that they get wrong.
And those rules are supposed to be thrown out the window.
Well, you know what it is?
I'm joking, though.
Yeah, it's not just the stuff they innocently get wrong. Because okay, I don't know which of us deals with this more, but I'm an author and editor. So I'm inundated with this stuff every day, day in, day out. It's the cynical, coercive, top-down, intentional attempts to warp the language.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like the pronouns, and I'm not talking the bio pronouns. And I
saw a writer who very intentionally used they was.
Yeah.
Like they were intentionally making they singular as a pronoun.
Oh yeah, and that's straight out of academic, like, grievance studies. Yeah, look, I'm here to tell you, ignore everyone else. They is only a plural pronoun. If you attempt to use it as a singular in any case, you are guilty of pronoun antecedent disagreement, and I will ignore everything else you have to say. And if I'm editing you, I'm going to change
it. Also just sounds wrong. They was. That just makes it sound, not to be offensive, uneducated, hillbilly. They was down at the river last night, all hooting and hollering.
I know it's worse. Themself.
And then they right.
Yeah, themself. How often have you seen that? No.
Oh.
No, stop the insanity. No, it's not an organic development of language. It was foisted on us by Marxist literature professors and Sapir-Whorf theorists. Like John Dacre saying, his ex-wife going on about prescriptive versus descriptive linguistics. No, I'm to proscriptive linguistics, okay? Thou shalt not cause pronouns and antecedents to disagree. For every misused pronoun I find, I shall ransack your house and bend all of your silverware into disturbing shapes.
Yeah. No, as someone who's not studied this stuff, but I've seen what makes good writing, like Nick Cole I've seen multiple times how he's done insanity with very clean and correct grammar. Like, you can literally make things seem insane with perfect, not insane written English. So
Yes,
it's
but he
not.
also uses insane.
Oh yeah, that too. I mean, yeah,
If I feel like if I want to read his stuff, I have to warp my mind like Mr. Wither from.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
Strange Company is that in a nutshell. Like Strange Company, about halfway through, it was just there's one scene on an airfield that goes totally wacko with psychotic drugs that was used on the enemy that also had friendly fire, so on blue, and the main sergeant, you suddenly talking to someone that's dead at a bar in the middle of a firefight after getting blown up.
yeah, I like his books. Don't get me wrong.
But
Go
yeah,
back.
but that's how he uses the English language. He just can get you there with normal wording, but not normal wording, correct grammar. But he just that's the power of the English language. It's magic, but because it's got so much power, and I have a half suspicion it's alive. Um, some people are trying to do things since it's such a powerful, maybe alive creature thing.
You ever heard of Zeitgeist?
Yes.
Yeah, those are real.
Yep.
There's kind of this vast, latent warp creature for every culture and language.
Would running with that thread, would that make part of the confusion of tongues at Babel a rebellion of those angels?
Rebellion, assignment, call it what you will. Because Angel of Death is beholden to God.
True.
Satan's beholden to God. At the end of the day. Look at the Book of Job.
Yeah, that's why it is comforting. Then even in cases of demonic possession, like the demons can't do anything more to you, and they have no more authority over you than God allows.
Yeah.
So he's always in control.
Yeah. Checking chat. Escape Velocity is signing off. Good night.
Good night.
John Dacre, this reminds me of my ex-wife talking about prescriptive versus descriptive linguistics, and I don't actually think I've heard of that. So, anyone here able to talk to that?
Yeah, like that's again more that academic psychobabble, to use an '80s term. So it's the difference between like prescriptive in terms of like, oh, this is what you should do. Here are the rules of grammar, and then descriptive is like, well, we're not going to put any particular judgment on it, but this is like just how languages change and evolve, right? And no, I'm firmly in the strunk in white camp. Like I go even beyond prescriptive to proscriptive, which is don't do this or you will look like an idiot.
Well, once again, when it's done properly, it's beautiful. It's like freestyle versus verse poetry. You're only allowed to break the rules if you actually know the rules.
Right. Yeah, I'm not
Or if you
saying
like trying to dance but throwing out all coordination and rhythm.
Yeah, I'm not saying that every single sentence ever written must be 100% grammatically correct, but yeah, you've got to learn and master the fundamentals before you can improv in an entertaining manner. That's all.
Yep.
What was that Douglas Adams line? That's the kind of thing you can only do if you understand that, when he's like, what was it, to boldly split infinitives where no infinitives had been split before?
Yeah, sure.
That is brilliant.
Okay, we're back on track. Anything else in chat that we missed?
No. That looks to be it.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to do this battle, and then we'll adjourn for the night until tomorrow. But Cloud should be coming, if I'm doing this right. I'm going to try to do it right.
Alright.
More Shrine Knights.
Oh no, he did not just say that. Every time the villain is about to succeed, it's either a monologue or nothing can stop us now. What happens? Something stops him.
Oh, and
That's
hey!
why I love Iron-Blooded.
It's Full Archivist.
Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm interrupting. What are we talking about tonight?
Martel was saying the evil anime villain always is right as he's about to succeed is saying, "I shall not be stopped," and then, well, the equivalent of a monkey wrench happens.
Yeah,
or
this
he
dude
reveals how to defeat him in that great speech.
Yeah, this dude just spread a biological weapon onto a battlefield and actually said the line, "Well, since there's nothing you can do to stop me, I may as well tell you anyway," and then he just told us.
Yeah, this is why proper villains need to learn how to set aside the ego for at least a little bit.
This is why Gargoyles was so good. Xanatos Gambits.
Yeah.
This is how you get Watchmen.
Oh, I'm just thinking of the Goldfinger saying right now. I wish we could go back to that stuff like that. Instead of monologuing, it's like, do you expect me to talk? No, I expect you to die.
Classic. Okay, this brings up another big blind spot that late moderns have when they're trying to do medieval style fiction. Game of Thrones falls into this too. Okay, so this guy's basically one of the Knights Templar. Okay, so he's a knight in a religious order. And he's acting on behalf of the church and is doing underhanded political maneuvering. But he's pointing out that the church stepping in and resolving the chaos of like 2 generations of war that this continent has suffered now and just taking the situation in hand is popular. It's what the people want. But of course that idea sparks instant revulsion in the late modern mind. Like, no, anybody in authority except the church, and it's just seen as an evil on its face. But they never explain why.
Brainwash the unenlightened masses, blah, blah.
Yeah, actually, I agree with Martel. So, the problem of enlightenment thinking is, and it's logic of power, though at least the ones who created the American Republic, is that no one can be trusted with power. If men were angels, men would need no government. That's literally a good quote to summarize the whole idea of logic and power, and that in this instance and a few other instances, having an extra governmental thing literally take over and run things for a while until you can actually maybe have something put back in place. The modernist mind, fear of power corruption, even though if maybe some entity literally can be on average a little more benevolent than the average government, their fear is that the power then is going to make just the problem again. And I don't deny that they have an argument there, but there is a counter logic that some entities statistically are better and could temporarily take over and fix things until you can put back in a prince or a republic or whatever.
Agree, but also disagree. Because from my perspective, the thing you have to remember about enlightenments is that they fundamentally believe there is no metaphysical truth. So religion is just so much of a lifestyle or cultural choice, which means that for them, someone claiming to monopolize truth is abhorrent. And, well, what does the church do? It claims to hold a monopoly on truth. So they simply cannot tolerate that. Like, again, you see this in Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which, atheistic, democratic, Japanese, he has a few blind spots, but which is a shame. But the Church of Terraism, there is no, like, when the basically Pope talks to his followers about the grand scheme, there is no justification on the grounds that it's true. It's that a religion is needed to revitalize the empire, and then it'll last for another 500 years, the way Christianity revitalized the Roman Empire.
Well, kind of balls. Take it one step back because yeah, because as far as the political side, I mean, I'm still on the fence about the idea of any extra governmental organization running power in that. But if you want to just take it back, the one great sin of this time is telling other people what they can do, whether it's don't touch that, don't touch the hot stove or something like that. The most indignant responses you get is you shouldn't do that, you can't do that. And having any, I mean, it's not just from a religious, it's not just the church saying that, it's any any boundary or curtailment on what a person can do is treated as the ultimate sin right now.
Oh, agree, but yeah, that's what I mean. They don't believe that there is any physical truth. They are, like, if I had to give a name to their philosophy, Sybaritism. They truly believe that anything at all which curtails their ability to seek pleasure, including mere physical reality, is unconscionable. But
which I find it doesn't. That seems to be a dead end of not non-theism, but of atheist enlightenment thinking, or more of how atheism rejects any higher thing. Even though if you look at stuff logically, it would just take Marcus Aurelius's can't remember, Meditations. A lot of good stuff if you want to live, if it's only a physical life, correlates really well with a lot of what Christian religion has said. And it's like, is it, how should I put it? I think I can remember when I was a kid, before I had done some hard stuff like detasseling, army, all that. I did not like pain. I mean, human instinct, don't like pain. Pain equals you might die. Not always, but good instincts. But pain usually in the non-bad form is usually the pain's usually what separates you from actually good things long term, and well, good things short term but bad long term, like muscle pain, fatigue, being able to endure endurance. A lot of that is just discomfort and pain, and a lot of people, I think, just don't actually understand what is pain bad and what is pain I must be a higher creature because I am a higher creature. I'm not just an animal, I'm a higher creature. I can become more by being above the pain.
I did see something on Twitter that this just brings to mind to you about the difference in children's stories. Because you have like the frog and the toad, and what you had in these stories was either there's a source of pain that they have to move through, get through the fear, or there's an action that is causing them pain, and they have to, recognize that what they're doing is wrong, and repent, go and sin no more. But you don't see that in the modern children's stuff. I believe the example was, it's it was like a kid with a loose tooth, and it's going through the neighborhood, and each one of these each person in the neighborhood had a different custom of dealing with a lost tooth. Well, the kid comes back without a tooth, and parents ask him where he was, and it's like, I saw the world. So there's no real, the mode of storytelling's changed.
I hate to interrupt you, but we've got a discussion on Marxism in the game right now.
No. There are no other solutions.
I don't know if I'd call it Marxism.
Yeah. Well,
because
Orwellianism, like, there will always be a boot and there will always be a face. So the question is, do you prefer wearing leather or tasting it?
No, it's the Malian dialogue coming up again.
Well, in this
you
case,
ask
though,
why we come to you to destroy your city, slaughter your men, and take your women and children into slavery? We do this because we are strong and you are weak. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must.
Well, I think you came in kind of late.
The Athenians were the good guys.
Oh, well, the Peloponnesian War still looms large in the heart of the West. I mean, look at all the articles that are comparing the U.S. to Athens and Russia to Sparta right now. But I think you came in a bit late on this guy's spiel, because he doesn't represent the proletariat wanting to overthrow the bourgeoisie to establish a workers' paradise and abolish private property. He represents the church wanting to rein in the nobles for losing the mandate of heaven.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about general exploitation dynamics, the way Marxism views the world.
I really hate that most of it came from good observations of problems and terrible problem solutions.
Well, why do you think they had so many people willing to believe it at first?
Yeah.
You had up-and-coming elites who wanted to destroy the old elites, and, well, the proletariat, who usually were stuck in a famine or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, well, say what you will about Marxism.
Of course.
One reason that it did attract a lot of people is it had a vision for the future, right? It said, well, once we pile up enough skulls and shed enough blood, like, then we'll have the workers' paradise, right? Contrast that with the death cult today. They don't promise anything. They just say, do this stuff because that's what... Well, they don't have a vision of the future. They don't think that far.
I mean, the problem is Marxism promised an end to Malthus. Like, they promised that you would no longer have to choose which of your children was going to starve to death this winter. You would have food for everyone. Capitalism provided that, communism didn't. So the only thing that the death cult has left to offer is unbridled physical pleasure.
Right.
Which is all that they promise.
Right. Which, not to get utilitarian, but almost every other practical ideology would not find totally useful for sustainability. But I've actually heard a good argument of why the death cult has maybe not allies, but they are used as useful idiots by others. It's the dead end of liberal democracy from the Cold War, because capitalism won, the epitome of the post-war consensus liberal democracy, and you can't admit that there is some problems with the ideology that won the World Wars and the Cold War, but you've got to sustain the crazies that you might have also been using and helping with the death cult. So
democracy and communism are the same thing.
Right.
Ultimately, they actually do believe in equality. So
right, and that's where liberal democracy can't admit any flaws.
Well, democracy is
victorious.
Yeah, it is what Martel was talking about earlier. Like, in a system where truth is down to 51% of a vote, you must rule out existential truth a priori.
Yeah, and the final verdict of democracy on truth is their execution of Socrates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've long said that right now it's a constitutional crisis. It's between the Republic of the United States and the democracy of America. And I honestly think, okay, the Republic is written, and the democracy is unwritten, kind of like the British Constitution, which exists in unwritten form. And you don't hear the Republic. You hear Republic. It's all the democracy, and it's being used to undermine the Republic. I honestly think at the last election, forgive me.
Nope.
No, I actually.
I was going to say, forgive me if this is coming too close to the line. I'll back away.
No, I'll forgive you, but I'm just going to stop you there.
No, I got a better team.
Let's talk about it in the green room after the show, shall we?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I understand.
Okay. Can of worms.
This isn't Brian's channel, technically, so...
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I'd love to have this discussion offline, but...
May you live in interesting times.
Yeah, well,
may those and high places become aware of you.
Actually, the recommendation for books that I'm going to drop is Thucydides' Peloponnesian Wars. It is actually quite riveting, just as a book. And he is an excellent observer of both politics and general military actions. So if you like learning about the ancient world, you will enjoy Thucydides greatly.
Seconded.
Especially if you know to read between the lines. Secondary recommendation, just in a similar sort of thing, is Xenophon's Anabasis, also called The March to the Sea. which
was the basis for the Warriors.
And a whole bunch of science fiction stuff, including
Yep.
Marshall Country, and the
David Weber and John Ringo's series,
Yeah.
which was also quite good.
I have another book that somewhat relates to the not the Peloponnesian Wars, but somewhat thematically similar, called Carnage and Culture, or Why the West Won. And it was about the martial history of the West. Basically was one of the weird cultures that decided, how about I get extremely good at lethal open warfare? Everyone else was doing, how do you win a war without destroying stuff? The West went down the alternative path of, how do you win a war by destroying their army as fast as possible on an open field of war?
That is Carnage and Culture by Victor Davis Hanson.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Actually, I'm going to just pull up. I'll post that in the Discord.
And if we're going to go ahead and bring this back around, Victor Davis Hanson's also done an excellent commentary on the Peloponnesian Wars by Thucydides.
I did not know about that. I'll have to look that up.
Oh, there you go. You can read the Peloponnesian Wars from the book Marto says, then listen to Victor Davis Hanson's opinion on it, and then read his book about culture of Western martialism.
Now, I do, in light of the last couple of decades, I disagree with some of Victor Davis Hanson's premises and conclusions, but he is a first-rate historian. He does very good work, and the arguments that he raised are well worth listening to.
I consider his book was considered a counterpoint to Germ's Guns and Steel. I can't remember the...
Yes, that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. There are some things which I think that Victor Davis Hanson gets wrong, but there are significantly more things that he gets right than Jared Diamond.
The geography argument somewhat, I think, falls apart, and if you just don't accept the general history of the Earth and that there is enough suggestions that there was a global maritime, maybe not nation, but people that was everywhere. And if that was true, then geography might never have been important if you could always sail and be coastlines. Like, yes, it might have mattered for inland movement. Once you had sail technology, which almost everyone had if they were on a coastline, you probably weren't then as limited as everyone thinks.
But
well, I don't disagree that geography plays a large role in the development of nations. Where I disagree is that it's the sole possible determinant. Like, if you were to take, for example, to take an example, look at the difference between America as occupied prior to the arrival of Europeans and America as occupied post-Europeans. Significant difference in development and utilization of available resources.
Yeah, his argument, and I think that's his catch-all as germs, is why that doesn't matter.
Well, it comes down to the same old argument. History is either determined. In academia, history is either deterministic from environment. You kind of wind up toy, or it's driven by great men. Guns, Germs, and Steel has some interesting things to say, but it's pretty much I think it's pretty much dropped from the conversation because it's mostly determinism and never really proves that determinism. While Victor Davis Hanson makes some real arguments for the great man of history theory.
Come back.
Directly or directly and otherwise.
Again, I don't disagree with the great men of. I don't disagree with any of the factors that are listed. It's just. It's just that you have to also factor in culture. Which there is a significant difference between all of the various cultures, which is, well, it's the argument that he makes in the book, but it's why you have such a disparity in outcomes between even ostensibly similar cultures. Like, I don't know, the Samnites and the Romans back before the Romans obliterated the Samnites.
Culture is the reason why the West did all had the age of exploration, not China. China had the technology, they had the will, they had the treasure fleets. They had the small age of exploration. And it's just their court turned their back.
Who was that eunuch admiral? Zhao or
Wasn't it Zheng He?
CH something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Zheng He. Something like that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that he went all the way to Madagascar on one of his expeditions.
I could believe it.
Well, we don't know.
Particularly the technology that the Chinese had, and even...
Yeah, because when he returned, the Emperor ordered all the records of his expedition burned and all the ships destroyed.
Exactly.
So some think he may have made it as far as Rome.
Something.
Or the New World, even.
That would panic someone if you heard rumors about Rome. I would just say that would panic someone.
Well, the Romans and the Chinese were trading. They had contact via the Silk Road.
There's a pseudo-historian who's since been discredited who made these, who really was a Chinese stand for the Chinese fleet showing up in Renaissance era Rome or pre-Renaissance era Rome and kicking off the Renaissance.
Okay, that's a little bit fanciful.
Yeah.
Also, if they had made it all the way to Rome, there would have been some sort of record.
Plus, Rome wasn't even a major factor in the Renaissance. It was all the other cities.
Yeah, it was kind of central to all of the Italian city-states. So.
Okay, so Shannon Jed is saying Zheng He was way after the Roman times. I mean, the city of Rome was still there. Like, for context, the same account that I'd heard that theory from had said that the Chinese had this idea that, like, there was an equal but opposite empire on the other side of the world to them, so that they were like the Sun Empire, and then the Moon Empire was in the West. And through their contact with Rome over the Silk Road, a lot of Chinese sages theorized, okay, yeah, that's like the Moon Kingdom. And so ancient Chinese portrayals of Rome were just Chinese. Right, so just drawings of them, but kind of flopped. Kind of mirrored. And I think that might have been one reason that he went there in seeking like the antipode of China, which had already kind of fallen. But just a theory. And by the way,
interesting theory for sure.
Yeah, in the game here, so know that Delita has now made a play to remove Sid from command of the Nanten and is now being promoted to a Holy Knight. So he's climbing the ladder.
Ambitious little SOB.
Exactly. Not bad for a commoner.
Nope.
And meanwhile, we know he's plotting to kill this guy who just promoted him and his main rival.
Hmm. He's got that anime villain vibe right there.
Yep. Oh, Chinese Christians did make the pilgrimage to Constantinople in later centuries, according to Chan. Fascinating. And then the written... Go ahead.
I was reading something for a project about the first known case of industrial espionage was a pair of Nestorian monks who brought silkworms from China to the Byzantine to Justinian.
Wasn't that didn't they use a hollow cane?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
As I said, taking notes for hopefully a project that can get done soon.
Oh, intriguing.
In a more technological news that AI probably is not going to take off, I saw some interesting stuff on full self-driving, just one little video recently of it failing pretty basic things, and also the stubbornness of companies for profit not integrating technologies they should. Tesla is actually one of the few companies that is not using LiDAR, which might be one of the few ways to allow a computer to eventually simulate a reality around it, because pinging a whatever wavelength laser off of stuff will allow you to build a 3D model from spinning or sending it out in a sweeping motion. But Tesla is not doing that. They're doing with cheap, and I mean your cheap-end cell phones have better sensors than their cameras do, and trying to only use images to figure out with some radar help on the front. And it's failing or sending cars into not badly, the driver's there and stops it, but it does hit holes or get weirded out by some things like rails for trolleys and such.
Tesla, inventors of the world's first self-destructing car.
You can trap AI in circle of salt.
Pro tip.
Well, what makes it more ironic and gives the story even another layer is the guy who showed this video and was still saying, hey, it's improving, we're getting some beta. Tesla fired him. He was probably a subcontractor, because I guess they don't want to admit that they are not that far along as everyone thought they were.
Yeah.
Gotta keep that sweet federal money flowing.
Yes, well, what makes the ice cream on top of this all is the conventional car companies, which I have no love of for anything. They have been known to have better, not the full self-driving stuff, but their highway tech, because they use LiDAR on most of them, is known to be their super highway cruise, or whatever they're calling it. Their highway version has actually been better in a lot of people's reviews and looks than the ones Tesla has for highways, which actually, with the technology and the variables, highways are the best area to use full-ish self-driving, because higher speeds it can manage. It can, if you use the LiDAR, which Tesla is not using LiDAR, I pointed this out, allows you to, the car can just do the thing and the person's still there and aware, and it's just a super cruise control, which still is what most people drive in the North American world, is highways. So Tesla's reaching too far and failing at something that their competitors who have failed on the electronic car part, they've caught up significantly on the thing that most people would like, a super nice cruise control that I don't have to touch the wheel.
Yeah, Elon's a lot better when it comes to rockets and cars.
And on that note...
Now, I think car finance... Ooh, we're dead.
Well, on that note, so I'm done with the game for tonight. We'll save the next chapter for tomorrow. But before I wrap things up, did anyone else on the panel have any other comment you wanted to make? See, Al, you've been quiet. You're just chilling.
Just been enjoying the conversation and painting some more lead.
It's sparkling conversation is what I'd call it. I don't know about you.
Scintillating.
There you go.
Scintillating, very Howardian.
Yeah. I'll tell you something offline about that.
Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Martel, anything else?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thanks to everyone in chat for watching, whether live or on the replay. Remember, you can catch us most Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 9 Central. Make sure to catch the regular Geek Gab show with Daddy Warpig and Dornall on Saturday afternoons. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to keep updated on what's going on this channel. And make sure to check out the Combat Frame Exceed role-playing game linked below if you would like to play out the Holy Roman Empire with Combat Frames. Well, thanks for joining us. I've been your host, Brian, and my panel tonight has been...
Catholic Lancer.
Preb.
Martel.
And the Pulp Archivist.